JPMorgan was crapping all over Bitcoin 18 months ago, saying it was a joke asset. And it's really interesting. Now they're allowing people to take out home mortgages against their Bitcoin holdings at JPMorgan. We got brought out of every bank in the world for running unbelievable hotels, the best restaurants, the best commercial buildings, the best residential buildings. We were deplatformed by absolutely everyone. They wanted to take the rails out from under us. And that's what made me a believer that we can do it better. So I fell in love with the concept of stablecoin. I fell in love with the concept of Bitcoin. And honestly, no disrespect to the real estate industry, because I am a real estate guy. If you look at the growth of digital assets over the last decade, nothing even comes close. We're the most debanked family in the world, right? As long as my father wants to wear a hat that said Bank of America great again, right? I got thrown out of JPMorgan Chase. I got thrown out of Capital One. We got thrown out of every bank in the world for running unbelievable hotels, the best restaurants, the best commercial buildings, the best residential buildings. We were deplatformed by absolutely everyone. They wanted to take the rails out from under us. And we found DeFi very, very quickly, and we found an incredible community, all of you, who really believes in transformational finance and doing things better. And it started clinking. The traditional financial industry was broken, and it was punitive. It was punitive toward the consumer. If you weren't Trump, if you didn't have a famous last name, if you didn't have a lot of zeros behind your name, the financial industry was not working for you, it was working against you. Look at the lending rates, right? Looking at the savings rates of some of these banks where they're paying, grandma 10 basis points on their money, and they're taking a spread of 4%. And you wonder why they're able to build $6 billion buildings on Park Avenue in New York, right? And that's what crypto was able to do. Crypto was able to remove those fees. Crypto was able to make banking so much more transparent, the flow of money more transparent, the flow of money cheaper, faster, in every way, shape, or form. It democratized finance in a way that it had never been done before. And those same animals that were coming after us legally for doing absolutely nothing wrong, they were just trying to disqualify my father from becoming the next president of the United States, which thank God we won. We're going after unbelievable people like Asher and every single person in this room who were having bank accounts shut down for no damn reason other than the fact that they wanted to take on the very institutions that, guys, excuse the language, were screwing all of us. And that's what made me a believer. That's what made me a believer that we can do it better. So I fell in love with the concept of stablecoin. I fell in love with the concept of Bitcoin. I fell in love with the store of value that you could move anywhere in the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could transfer $500 million in the middle of the night while sitting there having a glass of wine with your wife to any corner of the earth. It wasn't susceptible to corrupt governments. It wasn't susceptible to floods. It wasn't susceptible to fires. It wasn't gold. What are you going to do? Load up a ship and take it to another country? You could transport it. There was a marketplace. There was an ecosystem. It was protected by the greatest energy in the world, all around the world. It was so decentralized. And it's truly become one of the great stores of value ever. And so I went from the guy who just wanted to own the properties on Fifth Avenue in New York City and in the middle of Miami, and we still do. I mean, God bless, that's half of my life still. But all of a sudden I realized that the greatest edge to those hard assets were those digital assets. And honestly, no disrespect to the real estate industry, because I am a real estate guy. If you look at the growth of digital assets over the last decade, nothing even comes close. And when you look at the growth of what digital assets will be over the next decade, nothing, guys, will even come close, in my opinion. It is going to be so explosive. And if you look back over the course of history, name a time when a digital technology didn't win out over an analog technology. You can't. Whether it's the telephone, whether it's the internet, whether it's photography. Polaroid's a nice company that no longer exists. Why? Because they didn't keep up with the time. It's no different. It's no different than what we're seeing with the flow of money. You think the SWIFT wire transfer system is going to exist in 7 years when you can't send a wire past 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday? Not a chance. Not a chance. You know why? These stablecoins are coming around and Bitcoin's coming around, and you can transact using your smartphone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You think commodities are going to be traded on the SWIFT system, where again, people's money is frozen out? You don't get interest on that money for 72 hours? Of course not. You know what that's going to do? It's all going to become digitized. And the banks have fought like hell to keep that from happening. And we've broken the banks. We've broken the banks because of everybody in this room and because we're right. And it's taken this much time. And now all of a sudden you see the institutional adoption that I started talking about before. Guys, we won this race. I mean, we've already won this race. But the speed of which you're going to see growth over the next couple of years is going to be just monumental. And so I think Asher and I and Mike and everybody else, we nailed the timing. We nailed the timing of American Bitcoin. And we're not just at that. Name another industry where you can mine a product for roughly 50% of the value of the product. Go do that with diamonds. Go try and do that with gold. Guys, good luck. Most of those companies are making all their margin. You know, selling futures, selling complicated derivatives on the actual asset class. You know, go talk to any farmer around the country. You think they're making 50% profit margins? Not a chance. And so, you know, I've always said that there's two races that we're fighting. One is a race to get the most Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor, he's a friend of mine. He's done an unbelievable freaking job, and I doubt anybody ever catches that. You have the second race, which is who can do it the cheapest. And I can tell you, American Bitcoin, we are hell-bent. We are hell-bent on doing it the cheapest. And we have the platform to do it the cheapest. And that's why we mine every single day. And that's why we increase our Satoshis per share every single day. That's the fundamental business of American Bitcoin. And I truly believe we're going to win that race. When we first started this voyage, even really 18 months ago when we started talking about the company, it was a really retail-based audience that was buying Bitcoin. Before that, it was really DeFi-based audience who was buying Bitcoin. Now, all of a sudden, every single day you see, you know, Merrill, you see, you know, Schwab, you see JPMorgan. JPMorgan was crapping all over Bitcoin 18 months ago, saying it was a joke asset. And it's really interesting. Now they're allowing people to take out home mortgages against their Bitcoin holdings at JPMorgan. This happened in a period of 18 months, my friends. Right? And so the institutional adoption that's happening right now is unbelievable. The torque that's being created in the system, the products and the derivatives that are happening off of the BTC ecosystem is incredible. And so American Bitcoin, we're mining more of it than just about anybody. We've got the greatest company. We're doing it here in America with American Energy, with some of the lowest cost energy. I'm doing it with some of my best friends in the entire world. And guys, we're having a great time. And I truly do believe, last but not least, we have the greatest name in the crypto industry, American Bitcoin. So our story is 8 months and 3 days old. And I think this is going to be a lifetime work, and I think we're going to be one of the great companies anywhere in the country.
Does the world need another Bitcoin miner? Does the world need another digital treasury, company? And then you guys launched American Bitcoin. What have you guys kind of found in that journey in terms of, have you fulfilled a unique position in terms of what you guys are doing? Walk us through the thinking around that now that you're on the other side of it for a couple of months.
We see American Bitcoin as the Bitcoin company. And what does that mean? That means we help securitize the network. The vision was always, let's build a company for people who believe in Bitcoin, the ecosystem, to get exposure to Bitcoin as an asset class. And through building the ecosystem, let's increase the Bitcoin per share that backs every single share a shareholder owns. And I think what's been lovely is, if you look at the Bitcoin mining business, I mean, we are one of, if not the best Bitcoin mining business in the world today. I think a lot of people have left the industry, which has been great because competition has left and we continue to grow and scale. Regardless of Bitcoin price, every quarter, our margins and our gross margins have been higher than 50%. So we're mining at more than a 50% discount every quarter we've had to date. And I think the cost of mining that Bitcoin comes down as Bitcoin prices come down. It goes up as Bitcoin prices go up. We've raised over $500 million as well in accumulating the Bitcoin that we have on the balance sheet as well. We're mining 10 plus Bitcoin a day at a 50% margin that we're continuing to grow on. And so I think we're really proud of what the business has accomplished over the last 18 months. I think we're really proud the foundation is created to continue to scale. I think there's volatility in the ecosystem, volatility in price, volatility in sentiment. And for us, kind of the northern light and star has always been just keep our heads down and build day by day, and we'll create a great business. And I think we're very proud of what has happened to date, and we're just getting started.
Cost per Bitcoin mined. I think that's certainly something that's been getting a lot of attention recently. For the audience here, can you help to break that down a little bit further? Like, if there was an investor in the room that was trying to understand this claim about 50 cents on the dollar, how do they think about the components that lead towards that number that you guys calculate?
So I guess we'll start with revenue. How do we get paid by securitizing network? is based on really three drivers. It's network rewards, which is how many Bitcoin get produced by the ecosystem every single day, and that number goes in half every 4 years, right? And so that's what they call the halving. The second is Bitcoin price. Ultimately, the number of Bitcoin is determined by the first, the value of that Bitcoin is determined by the second. And the third is difficulty, which is how many people are competing for that same number of Bitcoin. And that's the amount of compute in the ecosystem. So interestingly enough, even though Bitcoin price has come down, the amount of people competing has come down as well because so many folks have pivoted over to AI. So not only are you having megawatts moving over to AI, but you're also having less capital raised and deployed into chips. And so we continue to have one of the newest generation chips in the market, and the advancement of cycles of chips have also decreased in scale. So it's actually been amazing. I think we started the business at the perfect time. When everyone runs, I feel like that's always the opportunity when things are undervalued to start building. In terms of our costs, the cost is really split up of CapEx and OpEx. CapEx is the money you spent up front. And so traditionally as a Bitcoin miner, you would have to go and spend money building the infrastructure in the buildings, and then you have to go spend money on the chip. Because of the relationship with Hut 8, Hut 8 spends all the money building the infrastructure. And that American Bitcoin spends a lease with Hut 8. So American Bitcoin doesn't have any CapEx on the bill. Then on the actual CapEx of the chips, we've negotiated really interesting structures. We're able to pay with Bitcoin. You'll get a call option on the Bitcoin, so we still capture the upside appreciation of Bitcoin, meanwhile mining at the same time. And then from an OpEx perspective, we have some of the lowest invest energy pricing because of the way of where we're located, because of the way we trade around that electricity. And so when we talk about what is our cost of mining Bitcoin, those are all of our real costs. Our cost of energy, our cost of the lease payments to Hut 8, the cost of the managed services in terms of operating the facilities. And those, I think a lot of times historically when people talk about cost of mine, they really don't include a lot of that stuff. And so we're really excited, and we think that there's a lot of continued growth for the business. That's just one pillar of it. And then there's two others that are really just at the start.
I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. Right now, there's a big narrative out there that the AI race is a national imperative, that energy needs to be focused towards that. Well, make the case. Why should the next megawatt be even considered for Bitcoin mining when you've got this big kind of AI narrative that's been taking priority? And just help us to walk us through what you guys are thinking about.
So I wear two hats. I am the exec chair with Eric at American Bitcoin. I'm also the CEO of a company called Hut 8, which is a data center builder for AI data centers, and we're building more and more these days. Both are really important for the US in terms of staying at the leading forefront of technology. Building facilities that support AI compute is critically important to be ahead in the AI race. But at the same time, securitizing the Bitcoin network, which is one of the best currencies globally, and making sure that security is based in the US and not in China or Iran or Russia or so forth, is critically important as well. The beauty is the assets are pretty different. An AI data center wants to stay online to power all of your use cases out there when you're using Claude or ChatGPT or whatever it may be. For Bitcoin mining, we can curtail the energy based on the price of power. And so the beauty is one is a stable low demand, and one can be curtailed, can be agile. And so the megawatts are not the same. And so as we deploy and we build facilities, depending on the grid, depending on the power profile and what they need to stabilize the grid, we can put a different type of asset with that demand profile. And so I think both are equally as important to scale and to grow into the US. And luckily, they'll have to compete for the same power.
It does feel like every year we kind of get to this point where we're on the cusp of something. We're about to have this escape velocity. I want you guys to think about it. 5 years from now, you're reflecting on where we are today. How would you describe this moment? What is happening right now in the context of American Bitcoin, this industry, what's happening in this nation? Walk us through kind of how we should be thinking about this moment, and maybe a little bit of what we should be expecting going forward.
I think 5 years from today, people would have said, shit, I should have bought American Bitcoin at that time. No, but in all seriousness, building when other people aren't has been kind of the undertone of the success that we've had at Hut 8, and as we're building American Bitcoin as well, is when folks aren't paying attention, and if you have conviction, that's when you build. And at American Bitcoin, we've been building every single day. And I think, especially when building a public company, you have to start thinking about the business and not the stock price. And you say, the stock price will eventually go wherever it deserves to go. If we build a great business, the value of the business will continue to grow. And we are continuously focused on building the business every day, not just on the Bitcoin mining business, but on the treasury strategy, on the ecosystem strategy. And I think 5 years from today, American Bitcoin will be the Bitcoin company, and people will look at the story and the build and say, wow, they really focus on building what people didn't have the strongest conviction as they had 18 months ago, and they stuck through regardless because they had the long-term perspective.
Well, America's done something great. America, unlike the last administration, actually embraced the technology that they were otherwise throwing people in jail for even thinking about. And America had enough backbone and have enough fortitude that said, listen, we're going to win this race, and we're going to win it decisively. Asia's not going to win it. Sorry to my friends in the front row, because SJ is one of my best friends, and she's from... You're doing great over there, SJ, but America's going to win that race, all right? We're hell-bent on winning that race. And what's happening is, as we create clarity, and in fact, they're probably the greatest kind of attributes of this in a certain way, but as America has got clarity, as America has embraced it, every country around the world has noticed, and every country around the world is starting to follow. And so you're not putting this genie back in the bottle. This genie's out of the bottle, and it's going to stay out of the bottle. But what's happening is the speed of adoption right now, and the speed that people are building on these respective networks is unbelievable. And that's going to continue. Second of all, you see what Asher's doing every day. By the way, this guy needs to be congratulated. His stock price today, they made a big announcement last night. His stock price was up 34% last night. It hit $107 today. About 3 years ago, I think it was $6, right? 2 years ago, it was at $6, and it hit $107 today. So this guy's he wore a tie for the first time when I saw him in the green room. And I go, Asher, what the hell? Your stock hits $107. You brace 100 for the first time, and all of a sudden you put on a tie for the first time ever. But joking aside, what they're doing in AI, and what everybody's doing in AI, and what America's leading the world in AI, how do you think payments are going to flow through AI? You think that's going to flow through paper currency? Do you think that's going to flow through the use of gold? And what are you going to do? You'd have AI go smelt gold and transfer it around the world? Of course not, right? I mean, you know how it's going to flow? It's going to flow through digital currencies. It's going to flow through cryptocurrency. It's going to flow through Bitcoin, right? There's just no question about this. So you have two things that are happening. Well, you really have three things that are happening. But first of all, governments all over the world, led by the greatest economy that the world has ever seen, America, is embracing. And second of all, you always have the greatest technology boom that's ever happened, which is AI. And the only way to actually blow money through AI, is the use of digital assets. And third, the financial institutions all realize that they've lost, and they can no longer push back. And so instead of actually fighting against the tide, you know what they're doing? They're swimming with it for the first time. So now all of a sudden you have hundreds of billions, trillions and trillions of dollars that are coming into these because they realize that the BlackRock ETF, Bitcoin ETF, was the most successful in history, made them a fortune. And guess what they're doing? Every day you have another person popping up another ETF. And every day you have another private wealth manager who made a lot of money in Bitcoin recommending that his clients put a more significant stake of their net income into Bitcoin. And all of a sudden you have legislation going through which gives people more of an optionality for 401ks and retirement plans to have cryptocurrency allocation. This is all happening at the same time. The AI boom, the institutions, the retirement plans, the companies, all of you out there every single day that are building products on top of the system, being able to custody it. The biggest banks in the country with the vast majority of accounts, the Charles Schwab's that have 30% of the retirement accounts in this country. They're allowing the custody of Bitcoin. They're allowing people to borrow against their BTC holdings. Guys, what this does, the way this propels this industry is absolutely monumental. And so, I always get killed. I believe Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million. I believe Bitcoin is going to go to more than $1 million. I've said that over and over and over. And I've never had more conviction than right now. So we're in the heyday of this industry. It's wholly apparent, Michael, based on the fact that how many people you have here? 25,000 people or 10,000
They're here with us.
People love it, and this is happening all over the world. So can I congratulate all of you for being on the forefront of all of this and believing before it became mainstream. We're all going to be the ultimate winners of this incredible technology and this incredible bill.
Well, with that, Eric, Asher, thank you so much for joining us here at Consensus. Thank you so much, everybody.